Am I the asshole for not paying the kids that shoveled my driveway? I am one of the many in the Midwest hit by the snowpocalypse. I think we got like 14 inches where I live. I also want to pretense this with I don't like kids. I don't hate them, I just don't have any experience with kids and haven't felt the need to produce any of my own. I work from home and received a knock at my door today. There was a group of like 4 12-year-old-ish boys, and they had shoveled my driveway and sidewalk and were now requesting payment. They expected $15 each. I was really confused because they never knocked to ask if they could shovel my driveway. They just did it without asking and were expecting to be paid. I was really just dumbstruck and kind of said, I don't have any cash, and one of them pulled up a smartphone saying they had their mom's Venmo account. Again, just being extremely confused, I started saying that I never agreed to pay them for anything. I was going to shovel my driveway at lunchtime. If they had asked, I would have said no. The kids got really upset, and were like, "You're not going to pay us for our work?" But again, I didn't ask them to shovel my driveway. They started yelling at me and I just kind of shut my door. Fast forward a couple of hours, their mom comes and knocks on the door. I open it and she started screaming at me for not paying their kids. Her points were, it's only $60 and clearly not going to break me, not wrong. They put in the work and should be paid. Her boys did a nice thing for me. She was proud of her boys for using their snow days to help people, and I was being really ungrateful and going to make them turn to drugs next time. This is where I started to get kind of mad. I said that I never asked for their services, and it was nice that they shoveled my driveway, but I never agreed to pay them and they really should have asked first. She insisted I pay them this time and they'll ask in the future. But I don't want to reinforce bad behavior. Just because they're children and people feel the need to let them get away with whatever, this is just not a cycle I want to perpetuate for these kids. You can't manipulate people into paying you for something they never asked for. IDK, so far I've refused to pay and I'm now getting torched on Nextdoor for being a heartless monster who took advantage of children. So I'm turning to you, Reddit, am I the asshole here? If I am, I'll just pay them I guess. IDK if I'm not seeing the situation clearly because I just don't have any experience with kids. Edit to add. A few people don't believe that I did not hear them shoveling. That's a fair thing to be suspicious of. So we did get 14 inches, but my husband and I shoveled yesterday. I'm not sure how much we shoveled versus what was left, but these kids did not shovel 14 inches on their own. My home office is in the far back of our house, overlooking the backyard. It's the furthest back you can get and still be inside. And 90% of the time I have headphones in for meetings or music. So I really didn't hear them. Another question is my driveway length. It's a 2-car wide driveway, and it's probably 2 cars long. It's pretty standard, so I also felt like $60 was outrageous.
Not the asshole. Shakedowns are against the law. Fire back on Nextdoor if you care about that, but this is a perfectly acceptable hill to die on.
Am I the asshole for not letting in my boyfriend, who showed up to my college as a surprise? I am a college student and in high school, I dated John. I tried to break up with him over Christmas break this year but he said he wouldn't let me. That we had a future together and that I'd recognize my mistake in a few weeks. I told him that I'd realized I'm a lesbian and was sure. He just wouldn't accept it and said that we would talk again in a few weeks. Afterward, I had gotten texts every few days from John telling me he loved me forever. I texted back the first few times saying we were broken up, but he just didn't want to hear it. Then one day I was studying in my college dorm and I heard a knock on my door. It was my Ra and she said that my boyfriend was in the lobby. It didn't even occur to me that it was John. My college is several states away and he has no car. I said that she must have been the wrong person. She said he said your full name and he's being kinda belligerent with the guard, saying he traveled from my home state to see you. I was like, holy shit no. You can't let him in. I broke up with him and he won't leave me alone. I had no idea he was even coming here, let alone showing up unannounced. I need to study for an exam tonight. I was honestly panicking and she could tell. She said she would handle everything. I should just stay in the dorm and study. I'd be safe there and she'd make sure of it. I thanked her profusely. I tried to put it out of my mind and study. My phone had already been on Don't Disturb and I kept it that way and I just studied all night. I was wondering what the fuck had happened, but I also knew how important the exam was going to be and that I needed to focus. I didn't check my phone until I'd finished my exam the next afternoon. I knew whatever I saw might upset me. And when I finally took it off Don't Disturb, I had a lot of messages from John. He first said that he'd come to visit me and show he wanted to work our relationship troubles out. Then he was saying the guard wouldn't let him in and could I answer my phone? Then angry texts saying, "Did you call fucking security on me?" And then a bunch of texts saying he was here with no car and no money and nowhere to stay, and he was staying up all night in a gas station because he had nowhere to go and he thought the employees would kick him out soon. Then a really angry text said his mom had to give him the money to get a sooner flight home and now she might not be able to make rent. He was furious we spent 4 years together and I'd leave him out to dry when he came to try and work things out. I feel conflicted. I didn't want to be with him, but maybe I could have helped him at least find a place to sleep till his return flight, like ask my guy friends if he could sleep in the guy's dorm. I have 2 friends whose roommates dropped out leaving spare beds. Am I the asshole for not talking to my boyfriend when he showed up uninvited after I tried to dump him? Second edit. Everyone who's commented so far has been saying I did the right thing and have nothing to feel guilty for, which is really kind and I appreciate, but I guess I still feel guilty and feel like I have something to get off my chest about what I did wrong in the relationship and in how I ended it. I honestly do feel kinda bad because I insisted to him and everyone else for years that I was straight. Even in my own head, I was in denial. I knew I was attracted to women since my early teens, but I tried to convince myself that I was bi because if I was bi at least I could pass as straight in my hometown, which was really not acceptable. I really wanted to believe I could be attracted to men, and I feel like I led him on by doing that. I only felt comfortable coming out as bi when I was in college and found a group of really wonderful accepting friends, many of who are LGBT themselves. Then come out again as a lesbian once my friends had helped me come to terms with that. But all that was happening within my friend group at college, and I can see how jarring and unbelievable it could be to hear that your straight girlfriend of many years went to college for a semester and became a lesbian. And how he could believe it is a phase, or I'm confused. I feel guilty for that, honestly.
Not the asshole. This guy sounds like a psycho. Who the fuck doesn't allow someone to break up with them? You are not the asshole for not letting him in. He legitimately sounds dangerous. Be careful. Am I the asshole for telling my roommate to find a new place when he called me a pervert? First timing posting. Hope this doesn't break the rules, but I need to know if I'm the asshole here. My wife is my best friend. We game together. We hike together. We play D&D with our friends once a week together, and we're expecting our first kid soon. Overall, I'm over the moon. Though, we spend a lot of time together, so I guess I could see how maybe my perspective is skewed on what's appropriate, so I'm posting here. A few months ago, one of our mutual friends fell on hard times. His long-term partner kicked him out. He's been laid off almost a year at this point, etc. He asked if he could stay in our guest room for a few weeks, wife and I agreed. A few weeks turned into a few months, no big deal, but we are getting a bit antsy to have our space back. We told him he needs to be out in 2 months though, because we'd like a little baby moon before our child gets here. Since my wife and I got together, we've been a daily intimate kind of couple, also through pregnancy. I know this is TMI, but I just want to explain this isn't a fetish thing. We did it daily for years before pregnancy and it's continued. I'll admit I do find it very sexy she is carrying our child, but I've always found her sexy. Well, last night our friend tripped the shutoff in his bathroom. It has one of those moisture shutoff things, you don't need to reset the breaker but reset on the plug, and came up to ask us how to get the lights back on. I guess he was right outside our door and listening to see if we were still awake and heard us. This morning he sat us down and said he was really uncomfortable to know we were doing that while he's in the house. I pointed out to him that some days he doesn't leave the house at all, most days if we are being honest, so it's kind of inevitable. His room is also on a whole different floor. He then said for the next 2 months he will go for a walk once a week so we can if we must. I told him that wouldn't work because it's a daily thing. He then got very upset and demanded to know if it was true we'd done this every day for the 3 months he's been living here, and said with my wife's condition, he wouldn't have expected that and that I was a pervert. He then went on to say we are both perverted for doing that while he is here and that we violated his consent. I told him to find a new place to stay then. He told some people about the exchange, and while most people have said he's being childish, others have also said me kicking him out 2 months earlier than we last said over it is extreme. Am I the asshole?
Not the asshole. He's living with a married couple. Does he seriously only expect you to be intimate when he's not in the house? Not like you guys were doing it on the couch or screaming like banshees. Time for you and your wife to have your own space and prepare for your new little family in privacy.